the second question actually relates to either stack or numbers. So I think what we'll do is we'll hold back, and I'll ask that after Christian's talk, if we have time. So I'll thank you again, and we'll move on now. So Christian Lawson-Perfect is going to update us on developments with numbers.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Let's start sharing my screen. Okay, so again, like Chris, I think this is going to be very rushed because there's a lot's happened. We should maybe run this conference more often, or I should leave more time in the timetable for for these sessions. First of all, I'll talk a few things about the community of use of numbers. As Chris was saying, this is a real boom time for e-assessment in maths. So Numbas has seen huge growth in use around the world. It's been translated to lots more languages. I think the new ones since last time, Chinese and Vietnamese, and I think Hebrew I can pick out in particular. So that's really good to see that people are using Numbas around the world. We've had contributions from a variety of people. It's still pretty much my thing. These other people have all been quite small contributions. I'd really like more people to get involved in development of Numbas itself, but that requires funding, I guess. So that's something for the future. And something really important is that Numbas is now used to power the Scholar assessment system, which is used throughout Scottish schools. They've been working on that for years, and they finally got it out. So that's around about 400,000 children in Scotland will now use Numbas. So that's very big. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about a load of new features in a very short period of time, which is not great because they all need quite a lot of explanation. So I rewrote the pattern matching system, which is used to control the simplification rules. And you can now ask for the student's expression to match a certain pattern in order for it to be marked correct, which solves the problem of a student entering their answer in a certain form. So that's really powerful. That work came out of a discussion I had at EAMS 2018 with Robert Stanyan and Chris Sangwin. In fact, I've been trying to think how to do this, and we sort of nailed down how it would work there. So that was a good consequence of EAMS 2018. As we started using Numbas for the sciences, it became obvious that we need high precision numbers. So we now have a few more number types. We have pure integers, we have rationals, so there's no accuracy lost when you divide. And decimal uses this arbitrary, fixed precision arithmetic library, which is considerably more accurate than the standard floating points that JavaScript uses and which Numbas used before now. A little feature is it's now quite easy to embed a numbers test without any kind of score tracking in a web page or blog post. In WordPress, for example, you can just paste the link and it will put the numbers test there. That uses the embed standard, so anything that will use that will use it. So this is in fact a live question right now. Something I wish I'd talked about yesterday. I wish I'd made myself space. There's a really good scripting language called Eukleides, which I discovered years ago for describing geometrical diagrams. I've re-implemented that and made it a numbers extension. It's a real problem, that the tension between ease of use for making diagrams, like apps like GeoGebra, which end up really heavy, and the ability to programmatically create diagrams, which will involve some coding. I think Eukleides made a really good balance between the two. It's quite, if you do a little bit of coding, quite easy to make a really nice diagram. So that exists now. I did a lot of work on accessibility of diagrams as well for that. And a really good trick that I found from another package called G9 is that you can make things interactive quite easily using numerical solvers. So I've created this diagram here and just marked that, I think, blue point as draggable. So that means that whenever you try and drag it. A numerical solver tries to change the parameters of the diagram in order to draw it where your mouse moves to. So that's a really easy way of adding interactivity. I like that a lot. So this year's big change, those were all 2019 features. The big change this year is explore mode. And this is a completely new way of presenting questions. Rather than having a fixed list of parts where the student has to enter an answer in each one, in each part, and they're all fixed at the beginning. Now you just get the student to answer one part at a time, and based on what they do or what they choose to move to next, you can offer them different choices for the next parts to move to. Really, it's similar to what Matty's doing with stateful. So here I have, in fact, no maths being rendered, so let's just reload that page. So yeah, a question about factorizing a quadratic. So if I don't know how to answer this question, I can choose to see a hint. And I can work out the discriminant. If I can get another hint with that. So really, it's kind of a choose your own adventure kind of question. I'm going to guess it's 1. Oh, that's going to be 2, isn't it? No, it was 1. There we go. So now that I've entered that answer and got it correct, I can move on to the next part, into the route. And I think the authoring interface for this is really important. It's something Matty realized as well. So I did a lot of work on that. But I don't have time to show you. Moving on. Something that we've always needed but not quite had is the ability to catch wrong answers or to allow for more than one correct answer in a way that isn't caught by the normal marking algorithms. So there's a new feature where you can say alternative answers. So you have your question part and it has an expected answer. You make a copy of that has a different expected answer or different marking settings, like the number of decimal places for a number, and a specific feedback message for that alternative. When the student's answer is marked, it finds the version that would award the most credit and uses that. And you can award partial marks, or you can show the student a particular feedback message. So here's that in use. And this example, in fact, I picked from the Dewis team's paper on mal rules. So I think that's going to be really useful. A nice, easy way of saying there's something I'm expecting students to do wrong here and to give feedback. Another little thing, the vast majority, I think, of our numbers use in the maths degree at Newcastle is this formative practice material. It's just available throughout the semester for the students to access. And the exam interface, where they're presented with a list of numbered questions that they have to work through, isn't the best for that. If you go in, you want to practice a particular topic, you want to find that straight away. So now there's an option you can tick to say this exam is in menu mode, where instead of a list of numbered questions, you get shown this menu. All the question names are shown. You can group them, so you can go right into a particular thing that you want to do, and still we can track progress. So I think that's a nice user experience addition. And finally, I think this came up yesterday or this morning, the problem of organizing massive banks of content. We have thousands of questions internally at Newcastle, which it's quite hard when you know you've written a question on a certain subject and you can't quite find it. The search tool works okay, but really organizing, like clumping things together is the way to do it, I think. So now within the Numbers editor, there's a proper folders interface, so you can organize the content with their project however you like. So I think that's, again, it's one of those quality of life things that ends up being much more useful than some grand theoretical edition like Explore Mode. I think that might be my last one. Oh, no, accessibility. Yeah, I did a lot of work on accessibility. I sat down and spent a few weeks really making sure I'd covered as much as I could. To begin with, we now have accessibility statements for Numbers. So if you want to use it, I think more and more institutions need to see that. It's now the law in the UK that we have to provide accessible material for our students. So being able to point to that and say, this is already good, is important. And then finally, I've used the ARIA Live attribute for when stuff changes, screen readers will read it out. And I've made sure that all the colors in the default theme and the contrast meet the WCAG AAA standard, which is the highest anybody can ask for. Okay, so that was everything I've done in the past 2 years. I've copied this slide from last time without changing too many of the numbers. We have pretty much as many open issues as we did 2 years ago. We have pretty much as many on wish list. Not as many on good first issue, and I think that's it's really good that people have been taking on these things, marking tasks as something that would be good for somebody to get into straight away. Someone who's new to the project, that's really worked. So I'm going to try and top that up a bit, and as ever, help either translating numbers or adding code or just feature requests is always very welcome. And I think that's it. I think I kept to 10 minutes there as well.
Thanks very much, Christian. Yeah, I think we're ahead of schedule now. So thanks again for going through a lot of material very quickly. So I'll pick up on the question that was asked after the stack section and ask both you and Chris, if that's all right. So have Stack and Numbers made attempts or have plans to publicize the applications in the US?
To publicize, no, because we don't publicize anywhere.
I think maybe to advertise might be as much to advertise.
Yeah, people are using numbers in the USA. We're talking over each other. You go.
Sorry, I think by publicize, I think advertise was the implication.
Yeah, no, we don't have time for that. I think Chris wants to say something now. Oh, and he can't because he's muted.
Thanks, Christian. You muted me. All right. Yeah. Well, I've been to many meetings in the States and North America generally. I was at the Fields Institute a few years ago. So yeah, it's difficult. I think WebWork did a great job involving the professional societies in America. The National Problem Library that is written in WebWork is great. Has a lot of stuff in it, and you know, each of us really only needs one system for our own work, don't we? So there it is. I quite like the fact there are lots of systems at the moment. It allows people to try out ideas and so on. I think that's sort of reasonably healthy. I don't think there are so many that it's just a waste of everyone's time. So I don't mind that. Yeah, users are very welcome.
Thanks both. So question from Martin Greenhow, Christian, on translation. So Martin says, MathsEG uses Google Translate to automatically translate into different languages. Is this viable, or is the accuracy not good enough? So perhaps you could comment on the advantage of contributors.
Yeah, it's not good enough. I think that's straightforward. It is getting better and better, but I absolutely wouldn't depend on it for students to use. There's always a chance it's going to translate something in a way that you didn't mean. That's going to cause you problems. And the kind of technical language we use in STEM assessments, I would not depend on it.
Thanks, Christian. I don't think we've had any more questions, so I think